Is the ISO standard 2016-314?
I have no idea.
Big Jim suggests the next backer level be $31.41 a month for 3.14. That was a good show, man. Chock full.
Yeah, it was fun. I like, I actually really like the small interruptions for the hearing.
Yeah, it was kind of
It
fun.
made it really fun and dynamic.
Yeah.
And you managed to follow all of this pretty masterfully. I was impressed.
Oh, I tried. I was trying not to not pay attention to you and be able to like carry on a conversation, but also keep an eye on that. And
Yeah,
it was.
I noticed there was some split attention going on, but it was only because I was looking at you. I'm pretty sure the listeners are not gonna know. They will never know.
They'll never know. Well, now they know. Damn it.
Well,
Yeah, the other thing that Landau brought up that I didn't have a chance to mention, which I think is really interesting, is she points out that two-factor authentication relies heavily on your phone. And so this isn't just about like, oh, I'm keeping my documents here. Like this is securing your identity.
well, yeah. I
And so-
think
and well, because a lot of the rhetoric from some of the representatives has been like, hey, yeah, you want to be secure in your papers, but if we have a warrant, we get to come look at your papers. Why is this any different?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are not realizing how. I had people on my Slack say, "Oh, but anyway, the important things are papers at home. This is just the phone." Exactly what you're saying, basically.
Right.
People don't realize when Cook was saying this is about public safety in the interview, the ABC interview. For however much marketing there is around this issue, I honestly agree that this is much bigger than just, it is about public safety. And he was saying, oh, you have the location of your kids in your phone, and that's, as soon as you bring up, it's two things. Either you bring up the safety of your kids or you bring up terrorism, then you have to think, wait a second, what are you really talking about? But I agree, it is about, to an extent, public safety.
Yeah.
There's so many things in your phone. People don't
It's
realize.
about public safety on both ends of the request. It's just in different ways.
Yeah, I think, yeah. The point about philosophically, what are we willing to give up to fight terrorism, I think is a really important discussion to have, and I'm not sure it's being framed in quite that way. And the way, if I was very cynical, I would frame it in cost of lives. And I would like to remind people something that would be, I think, is difficult to accept, but terrorism is actually not an enormous cost of life for us, at least in our Western societies. And I understand it's cold and terrible to say it like this, but it isn't. A statistics that is
well,
very
I wouldn't
often,
phrase it as it's not a terrible. It is a terrible cost of lives.
right.
What you're
It's
saying is
not
it's not a large number.
Right. It's not a large number when you realize how many people die. And when you look at any other issue we're having in the world, really, I really think literally almost any other issue, the cost of life is probably higher. And we often talk about the car accidents. And we're not ready to sacrifice a lot we're not getting rid of cars. We're not only allowing, certain people to drive. Of course, you have to have a permit, but I think someone said there are more Americans struck by lightning on average than people who die in terrorist attacks. That's kind of a...
And that is not to say that we shouldn't defend ourselves against terrorist
No, of
attacks,
course.
but it does set something to evaluate how far should we give up certain rights and comforts in order to combat it.
Exactly.
I would argue comparisons like that are kind of glib because terrorist attacks typically involve a great number of people in a short amount of time. You don't have a lightning strike that suddenly hits 100 people at the same time. And so
Sure.
the impact is greater. And when I think it's somewhat disingenuous to break it out into pure numbers because you lack the context in which that event takes place. Not to say that, of course, the discussion shouldn't occur. I would add to your bit about your router, Pat, that if DDWRT ever gets a firmware image for that router, you use that if you want like security.
That gives you more options too.
I think you can. I think it is available for the Asus, I think, but not sure.
DDWRT totally saved my neck gear. It was just gone super flaky. And I put that on. It's been rock solid, like 24/7 for the past, 10 months?
So. I'll remember that. I'm
going to call this a hack of the clones.
Oh, that's cool.
So thank you to BioCal. Yes, you were saying, Patrick.
No, I was going to make a really controversial comparison to gun laws and the fact that we're not willing to, I mean the American people is apparently not necessarily willing to curb gun laws, even though they are very costly in terms of life and, terrorism, what are we willing to give up and all of that.
But you're also talking to people with similar values to yourself.
Right, yes.
I mean, culturally, some people say, hey, you know what? Life, our particular view of life deems that that's an acceptable, byproduct of our behavior. And so for them, that's just legitimate. I mean, it's
no, of course. I mean, if it was easy, obviously it wouldn't be a difficult debate. I'm just saying that I guess what I'm trying to get at is what I was saying in the beginning, I suppose. How much are we willing to sacrifice? I think when you say terrorism, people are sort of immediately thinking that we should sacrifice. It's so terrible that we should be sacrificing almost anything in order to fight it. And what I'm trying to say is it really so terrible that we should sacrifice anything?
I think Roger and Patrick, you both are saying things that are not incompatible, which is Patrick is saying the danger and impact of terrorism is often overestimated, and what Roger is saying is yes, but you shouldn't. It is actually has impact beyond the numbers of people that it kills and affects. And you have to take both of those things into account when you say, okay, so what should we do in response to it?
Yeah, I think, no, I agree that is, I guess I'm trying to say that we're not having that balance right at the moment. I think it's too weighted towards the psychological impact. And as a resident of a country that has had two of the most terrible terrorist attacks in the previous year in the Western world, believe me, I'm very aware of the emotional impact of terrorist attacks. But I think that's the issue. Terrorist attacks are exactly that. They are engineered to have psychological impact. And if you let them have that psychological impact, which is their only true weapon, you let the terrorists win is what is happening. Which essentially it's kind of true. Terrorism is about instilling fear. And if you let fear rule your judgment of how you're going to fight that terrorism instead of rational thinking, then they're kind of achieving their goals, I guess is my point.
But to bring this all back, that is not what is being litigated in the Apple San Bernardino case. It doesn't have anything to do with what should our reaction to terrorism be. What it has to do with is, should the FBI be able to compel Apple with a search? Like, this isn't a question of should we get in. The court has said, yes, you have the right, FBI, in this case, to get into that phone and look for evidence. The question is, should Apple be compelled to assist them in this? It's not about Apple has something that they should turn over. It's not about user data. It's about, should Apple be compelled to create something new under the All Writs Act? Does the All Writs Act give the court the authority to do that?
Yeah, that is
what is being debated in the House Judiciary Committee is a little broader and includes the things that you and Roger are talking about.
Yeah, and that's the whole issue. The legal case, I think, is a lot easier to debate if you don't add the general moral implications of that legal case. And
Well, and I
this
think
is
what one of the things the FBI is doing, and whether it's by design or just opportunistically, is saying, look, this case gives us a chance to have this discussion because we want there to be an exception created by Congress. We know the courts aren't really going to give us a backdoor, but we think we could get one if we started a conversation. Apple's also saying the same thing. They're saying, you know what? We should have a conversation because Congress should declare very clearly that you're not allowed to make a backdoor. So they both think they can get Congress to do what they want, which is why we're having these talks.
which is sort of contradicting what you were saying just before. It's not just about that legal case. It's about having the
No, I'm saying the
wider
legal
conversation.
case is just about that. The Judiciary Committee is about this wider issue because they said, well, now that we've got the public's attention, let's see if we can change it to be talking about this other thing, which is backdoors.
Yeah, but the two are very much linked. The legal case is bringing forth the wider conversation.
Yeah, but my point was not that it isn't bringing forth the conversation. My point is the case itself is not about backdoors. It's not about whether privacy and security should be balanced. It's very narrowly about should Apple be compelled to assist.
Well, yeah, I would.
The case, the court case. Your opinion about the court case, totally different.
If you view it super narrowly, that's what it is about.
But that's what the judge has to decide.
Of course, but the next sentence over is about opens that enormous box of discussion.
But that's where Congress comes in. That's why I'm dividing that line. Is the court shouldn't be deciding, well, the FBI has a really good reason, so we'll let them do it this time. That is not the way it should work, and that's not the way it is working.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm wondering if that hearing would be happening if that case hadn't been publicized so much.
No, I think that is a fair point to say, like, because this case happened, and again, whether the FBI pushed this case on purpose or not, I don't know. Maybe Apple did, I don't know. But the fact is that case has got the public's attention, and so Apple and the FBI have taken the opportunity to pursue a separate issue, which is should we be forced to break our encryption? Apple's saying what we're being asked to do here is a pathway to essentially having broken our encryption. The FBI is saying, you know what, we really should have a standard for how we're allowed to get into these things because we don't want to go dark, quote unquote.
Yeah, I think it's really past time that we had this discussion seriously, and I really hope that it's going to be had seriously with hearing all of the experts. That it seems Landau is the ideal person to be having those discussions and questions.
Lando system? Lando's not a system. She's an encryption expert. You old smoothie.
Around the case, but yeah.
No, you're right. I was very impressed with her testimony. Whether it does any good or not, who knows? Well,
I hope once again you Americans have a discussion that is going to be echoed around the world. So I really hope that discussion is had rationally.
Rationally. What is rational?
Encryption works every time.
Some days I think we should just go back to the Stone Age and just throw big sticks and rocks at each other to settle scores.
Some days.
You know what? I'm fine with my Xbox and my big screen TV. You go do that. I'll stay here.
I'll go back to my paleo lifestyle as I knit my own clothes.
I've given up gluten. That's the amount of paleo lifestyle I'm willing to go to.
Uh-oh.
What? No. Uh-oh. What's happening?
I don't think it's desperate. I think I just put the wrong embed in the
show.
In the post. The podcast will get it correct, but anybody going to the post right now and trying to play the embed would get yesterday's episode by mistake.
So don't go there yet, audience. Wait but mere minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I just I was paying too much attention to our excellent conversation and forgot to upload.
Thank you for supporting your creators, says Patreon.
Oh yeah,
You're
today's
welcome.
payday for the patrons, for the
Yep.
Patreoners, for the patriated,
Patriots
for the
is
patroned.
Patriots.
For the
Oh,
Patreon.
you mean the creators? Okay.
Yeah, the creators.
Because in on the French show we call the contributors
Patriot.
the patriots. Patriots. Patriots.
Mhm.
Which I like.
You should call them patriots.
Not really. No,
I feel like,
I
no,
really don't think
no, we should
call it
definitely not do that.
that. Ooh, is the book out? The
Oh
Sword and
yeah,
Laser book?
The Life Engineered is out today by J.F. Dubois. It's the first in the Sword and Laser collection for Inkshares, and it's about a universe where the robots took over long ago and everything's great and there's no crime. Or is there?
What happens after robots take over the universe?
Yeah, JF basically was like, what if the robots took over and everything was great?
Could be.
And
Like, I want to tell
then
that story.
something happened.
Well, yeah, obviously you gotta have something happen or it's not a very good story. And this is a very good story.
No, the robots took over. Everything's great. The end.
It's like 2 pages long. Yeah. So he decided, well, maybe I'll have something happen. And then he did. And it's a great story. So go check it out. Amazon, just look up The Life Engineered.
I just tweeted it. So
Awesome. Thank you. All of you tweet it. Tweet like the wind.
by the way, we saw an eagle today.
Oh, really?
It was actually, yeah. There's an eagle that came back to live here in the area.
Wow.
And we saw it.
A bald eagle?
I don't think so. I don't
No,
know
had
what kind of
hair.
eagle.
Probably
It was flying pretty
toupee.
high. Yeah.
Was it
Toupee
dark?
eagle.
A toupee eagle.
Was it kind of a dark brown?
Yeah.
Probably a golden eagle.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah. What just happened?
sounds like Robotron.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
What?
gone. It was just
What?
when you said,
What's happening? What's happening?
yeah,
Oh,
it's
gone.
fine now. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
One, you just went, and then it sounded like Robotron for a second, and then it went away.
Oh, maybe I was actually being Robotron.
Maybe you were, actually. That's the only
I
conclusion I
am
could reach now.
from the future, from J.L. Dubois' book. Everything is wonderful here.
I am a K-Peck. All right, ladies and gents, we are out of here. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with Scott Johnson. Goodbye.
Bye.